The Florida Gators transfer portal class has been absolutely dynamite so far, but what's next?
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free reviews of the podcast and on YouTube. I am Brandon Olsen, lifelong Florida Gators fan, your host of Locked On Gators. And the Florida Gators have been going off in the transfer portal right now, right? I mean, you've got 20 commits at this point, 21 commits now, because 21. Because just a little bit ago, the Florida Gators landed TJ Bullard, linebacker from UCF, who is coming in with, I want to say, 1 or 2 years of eligibility remaining, a depth linebacker. Frankly, I don't expect much from him. Not to be a jerk, but I do expect him to be a depth guy who's coming here to practice, play special teams maybe, and then call it a day. He's part of the 2021 recruiting class. So it's almost high time for him there. At 6'1", 220 pounds, high school was a pass rusher, and then moved to off-ball linebacker with UCF, and enter the transfer portal now and joins. We got a bunch of people. What's up, everybody? Yes, it is Thaddeus Bullard's kid. I don't remember the wrestling name, but yes, the wrestler, the former Florida Gator that never lost to Peyton Manning. And so Florida adding another player here. Yeah, a legacy back to the roster. And someone that, again, I don't expect him to play. WWE incoming. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but there was, I think, a year or so ago, I think TJ Bullard signed a contract with the WWE, as basically like an NIL thing that was like, oh, when you're done playing college football, Titus O'Neil, there we go. When you're done playing college football, you're going to try out for WWE. There was TJ Bullard, I think Mark Henry's son, and one of the Steiner brothers. That I'm pretty sure all three of them signed. So TJ Bullard, I'm assuming, is going to head to WWE at some point. Michael checking in from the nursing home, which is work for you. Glad to know what you do. I like knowing what people do. If I can remember it, then I like doing it. But TJ Bullard, yeah, is someone that I expect to be pure depth, not expecting much of a contribution from. But I do think having, some experience and depth in the linebacker room, especially for practice and scout team and all that fun stuff, will matter. Which, by the way, yeah, if you didn't see the message that I put into the chat, just a couple questions is favorite portal edition so far and why, and what else do you think the Florida Gators need? And we'll get to all that. But TJ Bullard has committed to the Florida Gators, off-ball linebacker that, like we've seen with this coaching staff before, like they're bringing in experience. And look, this linebacker room needed some kind of experience depth that you hope doesn't play. And TJ Bullard is that. And I know that sounds weird to say, be like, oh yeah, some kind of depth. Like we want to bring in players that you hope don't play. But in the way this roster building process works, in an ideal world, you have guys that have experience and you hope don't play. It sucks to say, but again, this is more like the NFL than it's ever been. TJ Bullard, good athlete, so I would hope that special teams might be a spot where he can play a role, but defensively, you hope he doesn't touch the field. Again, just to be frank about it, that's got to be how it shakes out there, or that's hopefully how it shakes out there. He's going to have 1 year of eligibility remaining, if I'm not mistaken. Like I said, part of the 2021 class didn't play until 2023. And so, yeah, that's what you added in the portal. PFF grades are terrible. I'll say that. But again, I'm not a big grades guy. I think PFF stats are very helpful, but yeah, not a grades guy. Just because it's really tough to grade someone when you don't know what their actual responsibility is, right? Like maybe they make a great play and you grade them, at we'll say they got a 99 for that one, right? Which isn't how PFF exactly grades, right? They do like +2, -2 is their scale. But let's say, hey, he's got a 99 on that one. And it's like, what if he did the wrong thing but just made the right play? That doesn't mean he's this elite player. That means that he essentially either got lucky or is undisciplined or forgot the rule. So things like that. So I don't care about grades, is my point. But I do think that their stats are generally pretty helpful, especially when we're talking about like offensive line pressures allowed. I think is generally helpful. Yards after contact, yards per route run for receivers is big. They've got numbers that are helpful, just not a grades guy. And so we've got that. But we've got a few. We'll start looking through the chat now. You may be writing a book one day about this historic rise of Gators football. Would love to have to write it. Like I would love to be in a situation to do that. Zach Fink, can we talk about the tackles, potential starters? Who do you think starts at left tackle, right tackle? I want to hear who you think the best 5 on the line will be. Look, I've got to say for the best 5 on the line, it's tough to gauge, right? Because Florida has some guys on the line that we haven't seen much of, right? Like they've got guys on the line that we haven't really seen play much. Like Egan Boyer has 1 game of significant playing time in his career, and you add the rest of his games up throughout his short career so far, and it equals 2 games. Even if you watch every single one of those snaps, you don't know what he is or what he can be because 2 games is nothing. You don't know. Emeka Ugorji from Stanford. No idea what he's going to look like because, well, he was playing guard at Stanford. He's going to be playing tackle here. So that's another thing. But we'll talk about that for sure. I have to keep going back to QB. He'll be the key to our success. I'm not sure who will start in that position. Good. You shouldn't know yet. That means you're going to have a competition. It's Aaron Philo versus Tramel Jones. And I got to say, like, frankly, I do like having that, Ray Graves goats that still don't know how OT shakes out. I think that's going to be the question for most people, right? Let's see. O-line. Yeah. That's going to be a lot. Josh said, can I get one of those spots? I still got game. Go ahead. Try it. Does Jaden Woods count? Yes and no. Yes and no. I feel like the offense is more reliable to use PFF. Sometimes if a receiver runs a wrong route, so it still gets open, like, are they going to grade you positively even though you did the wrong thing? If a receiver runs a wrong route, quarterback throws it to where he thinks the receiver is going to be and he throws a pick, QB gets in trouble for that. Will Griffin not involved in the QB battle? I think that you can go into this and say Will Griffin, Tramel Jones, Aaron Philo, Aiden Warner, like whoever you want to be involved in this battle, you can say is involved in this battle. But I think most of us recognize that by the end of it, it's going to be Aaron Philo versus Tramel Jones. Like that's what it's going to be. You could say that for any position, right? Like you could say running back, hey, we're going to have an open competition. We all know who's going to be at the top of the depth chart when it's said and done. Quarterback, we know who's going to be the top 2 spots when it's said and done. So I feel like it's just one of those things where like we could talk about it. Like we can include everybody. But I think tackle is one of the few spots or offensive line really is one of the few spots where you can go, that's going to be a relatively open competition. And I don't think anybody can say, hey, we know these are going to be the guys at the top. I feel like that's how I look at it. But like, yeah, quarterback, you can include Will Griffin. I think Will Griffin should be involved in the battle. I do, because I think the quarterback competition should be every single quarterback in the room. I think you could talk about running back should be every single running back in the room. I think every position should be every single player in that room practices for spring ball and fall camp, and whoever you think is the best, that's who starts. Simple as that. If you've got a walk-on that's outperforming a 5-star, then so be it. Go ahead, do it. Like, I mean, stuff like that, like, I'm good with it. Florida State corner commits to Auburn. I saw Florida and thought it was Florida. But I think every single spot, especially with a quarterback change or a quarterback change, with a head coach change, I think you've got the perfect opportunity to say, we're going to have an open battle at every spot. You know, you don't have this rapport with us. Even Aaron Philo and all the Georgia Tech guys. Like, you could say, yeah, with Buster Faulkner, you've got that rapport, but with Jon Sumrall, you do not. And so that should be an open competition. That should be an open battle. I think at every single position on this roster, you should say open battle, open competition. Even if we know who's going to wind up near the top, right? Linebacker, it's going to be Myles Graham, Jaden Robinson with Aaron Childs as linebacker 3. Let him compete, though. Let him earn it. Let him prove it. Edge, we know Jaden Woods is going to be one of the starters, but let him compete, though. Let him earn it. Let him fight. Make him earn it. Make him fight. That's what football is. Like, we could say, hey, this guy's going to be the best. This guy's going to be the starter. That's fine. We can say that as fans. But as far as just football coaching goes, you know who's going to earn the starting spot. But you should still say, hey, this needs to be a competition. This needs to be a battle. Earn it. I will not give you anything. And that's how it should be. Deshaun Johnson moving to the slot. Jabari and Cormani at the 2 outside spots. Deshaun was someone that when he was coming out of high school, you know, I feel like we were talking about him and saying, you know, he should be in the nickel or at safety. And I think that you could see it in some games when he did play, that there were times that he would get beat vertical. And it's like, all right, yeah, like the thing coming out of high school for him is we don't know if he's a good enough athlete to be high quality on the outside. And like, he is technically pretty damn sound. He is technically pretty sound, like what Deshaun does. But I think just athletically, you kind of have to raise the question of, can you stick on the outside where teams are going to put their burners? Like I know everybody wants to talk about, like, oh yeah, like you know, you put these really fast guys in the slot and you give them the ball underneath and you let them run. It's like, yeah, but you could also put your really fast guys out wide and let them run vertical. Then you have more opportunities for hole shots against cover 2. You have more opportunities to get the post over quarters. You have more opportunities for just a straight up one-on-one in cover 3 or cover 1. Like, you could put speed anywhere and figure things out. I think it's more important to have the speed on the outside if you're a DB. More important to have speed on the outside if you're a DB. And more important to have agility and IQ on the interior. Personally. That's just mine. Like Scott Camp said, hit the like button. Ryan said, plus he's more of a zone corner right now. I don't see him locking down a receiver on an island. Yeah, but I mean, look, if this is on the back end going to look like what Brad White did a lot, then they're going to be playing a lot of zone. Right? If it's going to look like what Greg Gasparito and Jon Sumrall, which also is important to acknowledge, like, we don't really know what the defense is going to look like at this point. We really don't. I think you could look at some of the corners that they looked at in the portal, and like a Jontes, and you can go, all right, well, he's been a heavy zone corner because that's what Iowa State did with John Heacock. Are they planning on playing a ton of zone? Because he'd be a great fit there, right? I think right now, nickel is an interesting spot for me because you lost 3 guys there. 3 of your top 4. You kept your third guy, who was Lagonza Hayward, but you lost Sharif Denson, who started, Aaron Gates, who was your nickel 2, and you lost Josiah Davis, who is nickel 4, but probably actually would never really play, right? He was someone that probably wasn't a great take when he was taken. So it's just really interesting to see what that's going to be. Because I think on the outside, first off, I would bring in another corner out of the portal, an experienced guy that you could just rotate in, or have that experience depth that we've seen Florida take at every position that they've taken has been, hey, experienced guys, mostly with multiple years of eligibility. And even if by experience we mean he doesn't have a ton of game experience, but he's been in college for a few years. He's been through that process. Most of them do have game experience. But I think at corner, just get someone that can fit and be depth for you. That's it. You got Eli Owens from JUCO that's going to come in and compete at DB. I think he can be used multiple spots. I think you've got quite a few guys that can play multiple spots. It's just figuring out where they're going to be. DJ Coleman right now, I think, looks like he might play more safety than nickel. Cam Dooley, what is that? Like those, by the way, Cam Dooley and DJ Coleman are both guys that can play nickel and can play safety. And so in theory, you can play them both. Bryce Thornton can also play nickel and safety. I mean, we've seen him play everywhere, right? You see, like when you watch the field safety in the Ron Roberts defense, or that whole coaching tree, and even a lot of modern defenses, like you watch the field safety, and they're basically playing nickel on the field side. The side that has more field, obviously. But they're basically playing nickel out there. And then your boundary safety is the deep guy usually. Like so we've seen Bryce play a lot of field safety. And so he's been playing a kind of similar, nickel type role. And so we've seen him do plenty. Like we've seen all these guys have been able to do that in different roles in different situations. So I think right now it's with a lot of spots, we've got guys who could play multiple spots, kind of like the offensive line. We've got guys who could play multiple spots, but it's about figuring out who's going to play where, who's going to start where, and how much they're going to play. We'll talk more about that, the portal, what's next when we get back with Locked On Gators. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action, because right now, every NFL playoff game day, which there's one more game in the wild card round, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. So each game day, like today, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts that you can apply to the bets that you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day. See what boost you want to apply. Go make more money from it. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. And the new year is here, and it's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, which I'll tell you what, in the winter, ton of time at home, you might as well love how it looks and feels, and that's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. Get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head to Wayfair.com right now and shop all things home. That's Wayfair.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day every day. We are available daily and free wherever the podcast and on YouTube. I am Brandon Olsen, your host, and we've been talking about this transfer class, which is now mostly filled up. It is. The transfer class is mostly filled. Florida, with the addition of TJ Bullard a little while ago, added their 21st player to the transfer class. We've spoke about it before. Like, I think they'll be in the 28-ish range, right? Which means you've got 7 spots left basically in the portal. You've got your high school kids coming in. You'll add more preferred walk-ons, I would imagine, to the high school class. But your transport class is mostly filled out. You're mostly done, big game hunting here. Which brings me to something that people have mentioned before. We mentioned last segment, but offensive tackle, right? Offensive tackle right now is a very interesting spot if you are the Florida Gators. because you've got not a lot of production, and by production for offensive tackle, I'm strictly talking about snaps played. I'm not talking about, what they've actually done in those snaps. I'm just strictly saying in terms of snaps played, you have not seen a lot of production at offensive tackle. The returning just players, whether or not they were productive or not at offensive tackle for the Florida Gators, you've got maybe Tavares Dice. He's someone who his entire high school recruiting has been, and obviously he just finished his true freshman season, but it's been, hey, is he going to play guard? Is he going to play tackle long term? What's that going to be? Which is important, by the way, because I think for some of these guys, we'll find that out in the spring. But like Phil Troutwine has not worked with any of these players before, other than the two that came over from Penn State. So he hasn't really worked with any of these players before personally. And so I think that it's worth having the conversation of maybe some of these guys shuffled to different spots. Bryce Lovett was at tackle this past year, and he should be at guard without a question. Like, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, he should be at guard. If they keep him at tackle, this is the one thing that I will really push back on and say, like, no, I think you got that one wrong. But TJ Dice is someone who, is he a guard? Is he a tackle? What's that going to look like? We'll see. You've got Jahari Medlock back. You've got Mark Faircloth is back, who started as a walk-on in the Napier era, but, earned some playing time last year. Looked honestly pretty good in playing time last year, which was not expecting, right? Like, he came in for the first time, I want to say it was Long Island. I want to say in that massacre. He came in, didn't play much, right? In fact, that might have been the only time he played, but looked pretty good in those limited reps. But again, who knows what that'll be. You've got Caden Jones is back, who was your better right tackle last year. You've got Fletcher Westfall, who didn't play in 2025, but played a little bit in 2026. And that's it at tackle, right? On top of, the high school class that you brought in, the Tyler Trickiums, the Chancellor Campbells. Javari Lucas is listed as a tackle. I will be stunned if he plays tackle for Florida at all. Frankly, I'll just, in the interest of full disclosure, I will be stunned if he plays for Florida at all. That was a player that I was like, I'm not a huge fan of. Don't think he's going to be an SEC tackle or an SEC player, really. So we'll see. And that's not trying to be a jerk. That's just, how I feel about the take there. But that's what you got. You've got Tyler Trickium is someone that I love to film, but I'm generally against true freshmen playing. You've got Emeka Ugorji coming in from the transfer portal from Stanford, who played guard mostly last year, who's going to play tackle here. You've got Egan Boyer from Penn State, who's going to play tackle. Nothing really proven at tackle, right? On the interior, I think you've got enough guys with experience to say they'll figure out. They'll get a combo. Like Ryan Tooper said, Harrison Moore starts over Jason Zandamela. I don't know. I think that TJ Shanahan is someone that I've, the scouting report came out today on Swamp Signal. I'll post it in the live chat if anybody wants to read that. But he's someone that I wrote the scouting report for today, and I think that he will earn a starting spot on this team. He was a backup or mostly backup last year, but when he played, looked pretty solid and was a backup behind two quality veterans there. I think he'll be a starter at one of the guard spots. I think that Harrison Moore will start, but Harrison Moore can play center and guard. And so I think everything else, Jason Zandamela, Rod Kearney, who is entering year 3 or year 4 at this point. You got Rod Kearney entering year 4, but he's going to have 2 years of eligibility remaining. You've got Najee Harris. Like you've got a lot of guys at guard that you could say, or on the interior that you could say, hey, like these guys can play, and we're pretty confident that they could play right now. Again, you could throw Bryce Levitt in that conversation. If TJ Dice is at guard, you could throw him in that conversation. There's a lot of guys you could talk about at guard. There's 4 you could talk about at center, right? Because there's Harrison Moore. There's Jason Sandamella. There's Rod Kearney has practiced at center. And there's Najee Harris who played center. So you've got guys that can play center. You've got guys that can play guard. And I think that's where you'll see a rotation of players, just because I think there's genuine quality on the interior of the offensive line, quality and quantity on the interior of the offensive line. But tackle is the thing where everybody's unproven, right? And as a Florida Gators fan, I think at tackle, you kind of just have to say, like, you just got to put your faith in Phil Trautwein, right? Like, if you liked the Phil Trautwein hire, I think you just have to put faith in Phil Trautwein there and say, hey, he'll get someone right. Like he brought in Egan Boyer from Penn State, who has, like I said, 2 games of actual experience there. And he's going to compete, but like Phil Trautwein saw him for 2 years and liked him. And so even if I've seen, the Clemson game for Egan Boyer, which wasn't great, Phil Trautwein's seen it for 2 years and feels comfortable bringing him with him from Penn State to Florida. And I think that holds value. It holds value to me, at least, that, Phil Trautwein wants to bring him over. It holds value to me with all the Georgia Tech players, all 4 of them, that, the Twitter timeline is acting like Florida brought 73 guys from the Georgia Tech roster. It's nonsense. I don't know how to explain it. But it's comforting for me, or I'm comfortable saying, if you are comfortable bringing that guy with you here, and I trust you as a coach, then I think it's solid. Caden Jones and the Stanford kid would be my prediction. I think Caden Jones will be a starter this year. I think he's got the athletic ability and now experience to play a tackle. I think that he'll have, better coaching this year, obviously. And so I think that Caden Jones will be one of your starters at tackle. But the other one is it going to be Egan Boyer? Is it going to be Emeka Ugorji, the Stanford kid? Is it going to be Fletcher Westphal? Is he going to have his breakout? You got a lot of guys that can compete for it. It's just a matter of who actually earns that spot. And that's going to be just really interesting, right? And look, I know that a lot of fans, myself included, were very much on the go get a proven offensive tackle. This staff seems like they're not going to do it. Like, they seem comfortable with bringing in their competition. Like they feel comfortable bringing in their competition. And yeah, I think that we're just going to see what that looks like at tackle. Let them fight. Let them go at it. And watch what happens, right? So I think that Florida tackle is just bring competition and let's see what happens. If you trust the coaching staff, you trust the coaching staff. I think at nickel, you're probably going to see a corner or 2 move in, maybe a safety move down, and figure that one out. But there's also going to be an added emphasis on coaching in the nickel this year, right? Because you have Dawan Wilkins is officially a position coach, nickel's coach. And so for the first time, you actually have someone that's specifically looking at that. So you've got that battle going on, or you've got that figuring out. Q, you and me both would have loved to get a proven tackle, but they seem pretty dead set on not doing it. Like proven quarterback. I would have been way more comfortable with a proven quarterback, but Florida seems like they're going to be fine with saying, hey, it's Aaron Philo versus Tramel Jones versus Will Griffin, if you want to include him, versus I almost said Harrison Bailey. Thank goodness, no. But like Aiden Warner, if you want to include him, go ahead. But it's tough. Don't listen to the GT guys. They hired Vinny as their safety coach and are bragging about it. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll leave you guys with this. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, one of the Georgia Tech guys texted me about Vinny Sinceri. Question for you. Is Vinny Sinceri leaving? I said, thankfully, yes. And then I just told him, best of luck to you guys. I didn't like the hire when it was made at UF, and I was open about that because it is what it is, right? You hired a running backs coach to coach safety. Go ahead. We traded, Harrison Bailey. Harrison. Why do I keep saying Harrison Bailey? There was no. I was gonna say Bailey Stockton, Aaron Philo, Harrison Moore, which is I guess why I keep saying Harrison Bailey. Harrison Moore. You've got Buster Faulkner, Trent McKnight. Who else was it? All right, am I missing someone? Luke Harpering, the tight end, traded for Vinny Sinceri. Fair deal. Fair deal there. Do you know if Buster Faulkner ran an O-line rotation at all? It just feels like having a starting five is best with all the experience on the interior and competition at left tackle. There may be a rotation. I think that when you look at offensive line here, it's more important to look at what Phil Troutwine did on the offensive line, which is like he said he wanted to run a rotation. He ended up running, a slight rotation. Like TJ Shanahan played in a bunch of games, but in some games he played 4 snaps against Oregon, 1 snap against Nebraska, 3 snaps against Rutgers. So he's got he played, but it's not a ton. But there was a rotation at left guard, guard, because TJ Shanahan ended up playing both. There was a bit of a rotation at center. And by bit, I mean like there was a couple of games where they rotated, but it doesn't seem like a ton. Maybe you'll see it from Buster Faulkner. Like maybe he'll be the guy where he's like, hey, like I want to keep these guys fresh. I want to have that rotation there. Josh, I don't know why. Yeah, like I guess I love Harrison Bailey, even though I hated taking him. Georgia Tech had their rotation because they, of course, kept guys fresh and kept guys going. But they also had injuries on their offensive line, so that added to it as well. But I'll be very, very interested to see what that's going to look like. Which is also funny that like now people are asking for a competition or a rotation on the offensive line. But when Billy did it, it was, oh, these guys are clowns. Why? Like it's interesting. But I'm excited. Yeah, I think guard is a spot or anywhere on the interior. I'll say guard. I don't like rotating at center. I think guard is a spot where you can say, hey, we're going to have a healthy rotation here. Tackle is going to be interesting because are you having a rotation because you have, like, I think at guard, you could say, hey, we're going to have a rotation because we have some quality and quantity. At tackle, we don't know that. So at tackle, would you have a rotation because you've got multiple quality guys, or would you have a rotation because you don't have any proven quality guys? So that'd be that. But I do think on the interior, specifically at guard, again, I just don't like center. I don't like rotating at center. That's your communicator. That's like rotating at quarterback. I don't like that either. When you run at the score, everyone can play. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. You put belt to ass, everyone can play. I'm good with it. Put me out there, right? Get all of us, all 129 of us in here. We are the new roster after the score gets out of hand for the Florida Gators. And there you go. But the Florida Gators are going to have a lot of competition, a lot of turnover here. And it's good turnover, right? Yeah, when you have players that you shouldn't rotate because you haven't developed them, that's what happened with Billy and the boys. Yeah. They were just dead set on having a rotation regardless of anything going on. I don't think Phil Troutwine will do that. And like Phil Troutwine is someone who at Penn State, who's like, oh yeah, I'm really excited to have this rotation going and do this. And then just like didn't rotate at some spots. And so I think that's indicative that if you shouldn't be out there, he's not going to put you out there. Like he's not going to rotate just for the hell of it. Right. Which is good. That's how it should be. Thanks for being Locked On Gators, your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free, whether it's the podcast and on YouTube. We will be back tomorrow at the absolute latest. Maybe if there's news tonight, we'll have news, right? But we'll be back tomorrow at the absolute latest. Talk more Florida Gators, talk more transfer portal. We might do another live show too. these are fun. I just like doing it. I like interacting with people, So I might do more live shows as well this week. Looking forward to that. For Locked On Gators, I am Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at WNS_Brandon. Find all my written work about the Florida Gators with swampsignal.substack.com. We got scouting reports coming out. Safety DJ Coleman is the next scouting report we have coming out. So there's that. And I will see you all next time.